I get the question quite often about what USSEC is and what USSEC does. And first off, I have to tell people what USSEC stands for. USSEC stands for the U.S. Soybean Export Council. And we really work on behalf of U.S. soybean growers, the U.S. soybean industry, and the whole supply chain that produces soybeans in the U.S. and then handles soybeans and gets them into export locations. And I think about it that we've really got, two or three primary activities that we do on behalf of this soybean supply chain. We're really trying to differentiate and build a preference for U.S. soy because, there are several different producers of soy in the world, several different exporters, and we want to make sure that U.S. soy is the preferred soybean when people around the world go to import those soybeans. And we do that in a couple different ways. We talk about the intrinsic values of U.S. soybeans because we believe they have some advantages in terms of the type of things that make up their protein content, the amino acid levels, the energy level in soybeans. U.S. soybeans have some documented advantages there. Soybeans also, we have good low free fatty acid levels, we have good oil content, and in fact, the United Soybean Board, one of our founding members, is working on creating a differentiated soybean. So we're excited about what that could hold in the future for us. So that's kind of the intrinsic values of U.S. soybeans that we talk about. We also have the advantage of being able to talk about the extrinsic values of U.S. soybeans. And by extrinsic values, I mean things like the very reliable export system that we have in this country. We have a great system and great network of exporters that take soybeans all the way from the farm to, all the way around the world, literally all the way around the world. And they do that through using trucks, rail cars, barges, ships, containers, whatever really the end customer wants, because we've got members, and there are exporters in the U.S., that are able to ship in whatever sort of way that the world buyer wants them to be able to do that. So that's an example of an extrinsic value of U.S. soy. Another big one that is really becoming important lately is the whole idea of sustainability, because people around the world are asking more and more. They want to know where their food comes from. Is this crop being grown in a sustainable way? And fortunately, here in the U.S., we have a wonderful story to tell about that, because since 1935, when the Soil Conservation Service of America was formed, the USDA has been investing many, many dollars, as have farmers, in making sure that they're farming in a very sustainable manner. So we've put together something called the U.S. Soy Sustainability Assurance Protocol. And it goes through all the methods that U.S. soybean farmers use and why they are so sustainable. And we've, in addition to just producing that protocol, which gives you all the underlying background and information, we've created a certification tool. So exporters of soy can come to the organization and get a certificate which guarantees the sustainability of the soybeans that are being exported. And you may say, well, who cares about that? Well, international buyers are starting to care. The Dutch Feed Association announced in 2011 that starting in 2015, they were only going to import soy that had a sustainability certification that was approved by them. Well, fortunately, our SSAP certification has been approved by the Dutch Feed Association, and they're really a leader within the whole European feed industry. So we're quite excited about that, but we're able to ship our products to Europe and have it meet these requirements. We're now working with other bodies on that sort of a regulatory response to their needs. We also have projects that we're doing with customers around the world to help teach them be able to talk about the advantages that sustainability offers. So in countries all the way from Japan to China to Mexico to you name it, we're talking about it. We think that this sustainability message can help people who use sustainable U.S. soy, and if they market it properly, we think it can help bring some economic benefits to them. And the other thing that our organization really spends a lot of time and energy on is market access issues. Because, there are lots of non-tariff trade barriers, there's lots of impediments, issues that can block our U.S. soy from going into markets around the world. So we spend time working on things like biotech approvals, biotech acceptance. Sustainability is a little bit that way, I've already talked about that. Maximum residue levels of herbicides and pesticides, all kinds of things like that our boots on the ground and our team of 130 people around the world, is there at all times able to work on as the issue comes up and they need to sort of do an emergency issue to try and help solve a problem, or if we're doing long-range kind of thinking about how can we try and make sure that these don't become problems in the future. We're trying to differentiate and build a preference for U.S. soy, talking about the intrinsic and extrinsic advantages that U.S. soy has. And then we're working very hard to have short-term and long-term solutions to market access issues. U.S. soybean farmers, they have reacted to growing world demand for protein, and we're to the point where about 60% of the soy produced in the U.S. gets exported in the form of beans, meal, or oil. When you add to that meat exports, the number goes up by about another 5%. So now if you think about it, roughly 2/3 of the soybeans that are produced in the U.S. go into an export market. And U.S. soybean farmers have recognized that. They've been involved in international markets, supporting international offices for roughly 60 years. They opened their first office 59 years ago in Japan, opened other offices in Southeast Asia. They were in China a long time before China actually became an importer. They've had an office in China for 33 years, and China's only been an importer for roughly 20 years. We're doing similar things in other markets around the world, but suffice it to say that U.S. soybean farmers recognized the opportunity many years ago and responded by making investments in these international marketing areas. And I think that today they're on the forefront of leading. Roughly 20% of all U.S. agricultural exports are soybeans. And that's pretty impressive when you think about, there's an awful lot of other crops and other things that get exported, and soybeans make up almost 20% of the total.